Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV now on YouTube. Our address is very simple, youtube.com/NDTV, and you can log on that and stay tuned to our YouTube channel for all the latest updates. This is the top story segment where every morning on Good Morning India, I give you 5 stories to talk about, to think about, and the ones that generate most interest from you is what you and I discuss here on our YouTube platform. So let's go see what's gathered most of your attention today. 69% of you have voted for Jamia. Protesters have bullet wounds. That's what the doctors are saying. What exactly is this story all about? We're going to be looking at that at length. Now, quick update on the Jamia front before we get into the details of this particular angle of the story. Delhi police minutes back has arrested 10 people for arson and violence in the protest that happened in Delhi. None of them are students. 3 of them are said to have had past criminal records as well. So what this essentially tells us is that these are people who've been picked up by Delhi police for creating violence and indulging in arson and violence, burning of buses, etc. in the New Friends Colony and Okhla area. This is not got to do with the Jamia violence just yet, but we wait to hear more details from the police on what exactly this is all about. Apart from that, what exactly happened in Jamia? We've been talking about the ripple effect that it had on several universities across the country, going on protest, presenting and talking about solidarity with their brothers and sisters in Jamia. And today as well, there are several protests that have been lined up in the north, in the south, in the east, and the west of the country as well. Here in the capital also, a couple of protests have been planned out by several universities in Gurgaon, in Dwarka as well. So it's going all over. And meanwhile, the heart of the issue of all these protests building up, a student movement of sorts that I've been telling you building up, has been that there was violence. The police, students believe there was violence that was unleashed on them by the Delhi police without any provocation. Then there were 2 particular videos that came to the fore, and I'll show you that as we go ahead with this conversation, on how students, at least 3 of them at this point, sustained what they called were bullet injuries. Now, it is perhaps, if that is true at this point, and we don't know that just yet, but if it is true at this point, it is going to be a blatant violation, and questions will be asked of why Delhi police opened fire at students who were merely protesting. So those videos went viral, and to understand the truth behind it, NDTV went down and we chased these 3 students who were seen in these videos. One of them we found in the hospital in Safdarjung, another one at the Holy Family Hospital as well. I just want to quickly take you through the details of these 3 people and these 3 students, and then also the videos that came out on them, and then we'll talk about what more do we know on whether or not they were bullet injuries or no. I'm going to the latest update on ndtv.com, and under the story 3 Jamia protesters have bullet wounds. You can get all the details. So NDTV traced one of them, Ajaz, 22, a BA student from Jamia University. He was admitted here. This is a picture that we took from Safdarjung Hospital. That's his family standing over there. And NDTV reporters went there to find out what happened. The family seemed to believe that he had got injuries and had been shot in the chest, and they said that he had no role to play in the protests. He was just standing there and he perhaps caught in the crossfire, and that's why they are raising these questions. There was another student, his name is Shoaib, also at Safdarjung Hospital. He's 23 years old, and he has what police is calling is pellet injuries or pellet guns injury. Then there is a third, and that came in as Tameen, another student of, in fact, Tameen is not a student. Tameen is somebody who is a businessman, goes to work, etc. And this video of him, I'm sure you would have seen online as well. Let me just play out that for you.
ये हमारे भाई तमीम ये झुलेना रास्ते में इनके पुलिस वालों ने गोली मारी है टांग पे। आश्रम से आ रहे थे तो झुलेना पे पुलिस वालों ने इनके मोहम्मद तमीम नाम है इनका भाई के टांग पे गोली मारी है। ये देखो बेकसूरों को मारा जा रहा है। मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, देखो आश्रम में जा रहे थे और अभी पैर में गोली लेके दिखा होली फैमिली में एडमिट है भाई। होली फैमिली में एडमिट कराए इन्हें, 2 गोली मारी है इनके।
That's one. Another video of this one. Have a look at this as well. गोली मारी है, पैर में चोट लगी है. Call the doctors, call the ambulance. So all these videos have raised several questions on the role of police and the manner and the level of sort of response, if that's the correct word to say. The level of response and the degree of response that the protesters saw on the part of the Delhi police. Now, NDTV has spoken with all these 3 people. And repeatedly, what they have been claiming and their families have been claiming is that they were not part of the protest. They were merely there. And they believe that they did not throw any stones, they were not violent, and yet they got this response from Delhi police. Delhi police, when specifically asked about the violence, the degree of violence that and the crackdown that we saw at Jamia University and elsewhere in south of Delhi, gave several responses, but we saw a lot of discrepancies in them. There were 4 responses, if I can go in that order for you, on how we got them. Number 1 response that we got straight up from Delhi police was that, well, we have not shot at anyone. There was no firing that took place at all. Then when asked again about this, as more and more of these videos were emerging, they said, well, we could have fired rubber bullets, we could have fired pellet guns, but there was no firing at all. The fourth and the final response actually, after we got these videos, after NDTV spoke with all these 3 people, and then we went back to Delhi police and said, now what do you have to say? We have evidence and we have credible evidence, and now we have people on the ground as well come to us on camera and say that you did fire. Delhi police at this point is saying that these are not gun firings and not bullets being fired, but perhaps when you fire a tear gas shell, the shell at times leaves in metallic substances called sharpeners, etc. And that sharp metallic substance could have gone inside their body, which is extremely lethal. So Delhi police believes that this is an outcome of the tear gas shells that were fired at these protesters who were violent at that point, and that's what's hit them. It is not the bullets, and this is not definitely guns being fired at them. Now, when we got that from Delhi police, we went to the Holy Family Hospital. You saw the last one there, Tamim, and he said that he's admitted at Holy Family Hospital, and we got out the discharge summary. This is the discharge summary of Tamim, and let's see what it says. It says over here in the history that when taken to the hospital, he had sustained gunshot injury to left leg. This left leg and the gunshot injury that you see, the discharge summary of that hospital says that he's maintained this. But towards the end, it also says in the relevant investigation segment, it says the patient underwent foreign body removal under IV sedation. So the Delhi police at this point is saying that though it might have looked like a gunshot injury when they were taken to the hospital, it actually ended up being just a foreign body being removed. And they are questioning if indeed it was a bullet and that was what was surgically taken out. Why was that not mentioned in the discharge summary? Relevant point, So we went back to the hospital and we tried to understand from them. My colleague Sukirti went to the Holy Family Hospital to try and understand from them, and they are saying that their job is merely to understand what this is, and whatever this foreign body that they mention, that foreign body has now been sent for forensic investigation, and that will decide whether or not it was a bullet or not. At this point, there's a huge debate raging over these issues. But I have put out and tried to at least give you very fairly and squarely both the perspectives over here. What Delhi police has been saying, what the hospital is saying, what the students and these protesters are saying as well. So that's where we are when it comes to the story of these so-called bullet injuries that have been sustained by the protesters. That's pretty much been the heart of the debate, and we've been speaking repeatedly to Delhi police, who maintained that there were no bullets fired. We'll have to wait for the forensic labs to come back with reports to give us more details on that. So that's been one aspect of the story. The other aspect, as I talked about, was the 10 people who have been arrested so far. Like I said, none of them students, 3 of them with past criminal record, and that's something which is also on our minds. Apart from that, there has now been a letter that has come in from Howard students and people affiliated to Howard College, alumni, etc. And a bunch of over 100 of them, 125 if I'm not wrong, have now written into the government of India saying that they believe what happened and the crackdown that the Delhi police had on Jamia students was uncalled for. And also they believe that the Citizenship Amendment Act is against the basic ethos and the principle of India, the idea of India, and undemocratic as well. So what is the big picture really over here? While there continues to be question marks and lots of videos still coming out, still being unearthed, still surfacing, and more stories of violence coming out from the campuses, and while there needs to be investigation on that front, the heart of this entire issue, where it all started, the Citizenship Amendment Act, that still remains very, very active. Today is the day when all the opposition parties, we don't know how many of them so far, but a good amount of opposition parties, we are told, will be going to meet the president at around 4:30 today evening to try and tell him that the Citizenship Act, which is generating so much of anger in people, so much of resistance from people on the ground in protests, with NRIs writing, people from Howard writing, and lots of controversy emerging out of this, and anger also emerging out of this. They are going to urge the president to ensure that this does not go through. Remember, what happens with the Citizenship Amendment Act is something that will be decided by the courts now, and we have to wait until that happens. For the moment, that's it on our top story segment. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.